Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to review some of the info from last week for this week and then our quiz. I apologize for the delay. Like I'd said in the email, we did have a student that had been given an extension and I just needed, I can't post the quiz answers until everyone takes the quiz. So let's hop into week 5. So last week we talked about human resources. Hopefully you were able to glean a little bit of info from it. I guess probably one of the key takeaways, a couple of the key takeaways from that chapter, we have a staffing shortage in many areas in the healthcare sector, nursing assistants, primary care physicians. There's just a large shortage across many areas, and especially in certain parts of the country. Like, for example, Pittsburgh probably doesn't have as much of a nursing shortage, given that we have like 25 different nursing schools, but in rural areas, in various areas where perhaps there isn't a local nursing school, or maybe there's only one. So it does tend to vary across the geography, but certainly nursing is still a great field to go into, and if you're able to move around the country, you can probably do pretty well for yourself, as long as you are willing to go to where folks are really needed. For example, down here, I remember when we were looking to move down here to Florida, local hospitals here were offering $10,000 and $15,000 sign-on bonuses for RNs. So lots of money in it if you're willing to relocate to a place that needs you. Also problematic, kind of related to that, and one of the reasons I think that we see such a shortage in some of these clinical areas is worker burnout. So folks in the clinical sectors, I think sadly we'll see an increase in this given COVID, but folks that work in the clinical sectors, be it clinical medicine or as nursing staff or in other therapies, folks like that, I think we're going to see more burnout, and therefore more of those folks going to jobs that don't require hands-on patient care. So more folks going to, like in nursing, going to things like case management, care managers, those types of positions, physicians moving out of direct care and into things like medical direction and whatnot. So sadly, I think we're going to see more of that because of the strain that COVID has put on our industry. Also, probably the last thing hopefully you gleaned from this week's work is that human resources, folks that work in human resources deal with a lot of regulatory issues. So the legal regulatory environment related to human resources overall, it's not specific to healthcare by any means, but what has to go on is highly detailed, and obviously none of you guys are at the point where you are doing a clinical or a internship type experience, although maybe some of the nursing students that have picked up later, picked up a minor later in their days in their program, maybe have done a clinical or an internship like situation. But for example, one of the things that's typically required of anyone coming into a facility are a multitude of different mandatory trainings, and if you're going to be exposed to patients, you typically have to go through physical screenings, things like TB tests, and now probably COVID tests, and verification of vaccines, and all of those types of things. So there's a lot of regulatory structure behind human resources in general, things like the ADA and the wage and hour laws and those types of things, but also specific to healthcare, there's a lot more, because we need to keep our workforce safe and healthy. We need to keep our patients safe. So lots of stuff there. So hopefully you were able to gather a little bit of that. If you are in the HSA program as a major, you'll take a human resources course. So you'll get a full course, full 8 weeks, more detail on that. And for those of you that aren't and are just using this course as part of a minor, you will hear more about human resources in one of the concepts courses, 2300, 2350. And I think that the human resources course is an option, as an elective for you. So if you found this interesting, which a lot of students do, for whatever reason, they find this an interesting section of healthcare on the administrative side, I'd encourage you to go forward with that. If you're an on-ground student, you can even do an HR minor. If you are an HSA student and you have a specific interest in HR, you can do an HR minor as well. So, okay, let's look at week 6. So this week that we're in now, hard to believe we're in week 6 already, which means we only have 2 weeks left after this. But we are going to look a little bit at operations and a little bit at quality and process improvement. So you will find that my 2 colleagues, the other full-time faculty in the program, Drs. Hampe and Frindak, are both quality people. So, so they will give you a much more hands-on look at quality. There's a quality improvement course in the program. They'll talk about quality in their classes as well, in their concepts class. But we're just going to take a quick glimpse at it this week. I would highly encourage you to watch this video. It's not too painful. Some of the videos can be, but this is, it'll give you a basic overview of quality in healthcare. We have our discussion this week, which hopefully you've all posted in by now, and I haven't heard any problems generally. I did have one student that mentioned a Flipgrid issue, but I haven't heard from anybody else. So actually, and along those lines, if you're having an issue with Flipgrid, a technical issue, there is, if you go out to the Flipgrid website, there is a help section and there's a contact page where you can contact them. Unfortunately, outside of settings on my end, I can't control any technical issues with Flipgrid. I can make suggestions, but definitely reach out to them. They can help you if maybe it's a setting on your phone or on your computer, and they can help you navigate that as well. We do have a written assignment this week. This tends to be one that confuses some folks, so just be aware. So in this week, we're going to talk about a number of process improvement methods. So CQI, TQM, Six Sigma, Lean, Lean Six Sigma, various different process improvement methods. What I want you to do is choose one. So sometimes I get a paper that is talking about all of them, but choose one that interests you. You're going to learn about all of them. So just choose one that interests you and dig into it a little bit. Talk about the method. How does it work in healthcare? Has it been effective? Maybe you can find a case study that specifically talks to it that you can use in your assignment. Of course, remember all papers need to be in APA format. 2 to 4 pages means the body of the paper. So 2 to 4 pages body, but we're looking for a title page and a reference page as well, assuming you would use references to discuss this. And also remember that any information that you share from an external source needs to be cited. So even if you're paraphrasing something, so you've read in the textbook all about Six Sigma, for example, and you're talking about Six Sigma in your paper, you need to cite where you learned that information. So it's not just when you are direct quoting something, it's also when you're sharing information that has been learned from an external resource. The only time we really don't cite something is when it's general knowledge, but Six Sigma, not general knowledge. So if it's general knowledge or very obvious, it doesn't require citation. And if it's your own personal opinion, then obviously it doesn't require citation. But when we're talking about these types of systems, you do need to cite them and then reference them at the end of your paper. Always, if you have questions on that, on how to operate in APA 7, please just feel free to reach out. And obviously we have our tutorial we did in the first week. Feel free to reference back to that as well. There's a lot of good resources. Then we have the quiz and this ed puzzle. So let's hop over to the quiz from last week. First question, and actually folks did really well on the quiz. There's only 2 questions that anybody got wrong, so everyone did really well on the quiz last week, so good job there. Major federal law affecting human resources primarily addresses. So the answer was all of these are correct. So protections for applicants and rights of employees, for sure, are protected under federal law. Safety in the workplace is protected under federal law. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, and all of their laws and regulations, that's all about workplace safety. Accommodations for people with disabilities, for sure. You'll hear it referred to as the ADA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act. It protects people of disabilities in every setting. So you may be familiar with, with the accommodations that can be made in schools for folks that require those accommodations under the ADA. The employers need to make those same accommodations available in the employment setting, both in the application process as well as once you've reached the workplace. So, for example, if you go into apply for a job, you'll typically see a link or a setting or something that says if you require accommodations to complete this application, please contact, or may have a link to click. And then also you'll find when you work through the process, there is typically, and you're not required to complete them, but there's typically a survey asking if you would require accommodations to be able to do the job that you're applying for. So, and again, you don't have to complete that, and you don't have to ask for accommodations, to complete this application process itself, but they are available there for those that need them. So that's a good thing. So that means that all of those bullets are correct. Next question, job analysis is necessary to, and then we have a few options, define jobs, determine projected staffing, evaluate employee performance, or then all of these are correct. And our correct answer was define jobs. So remember that the job analysis process is really about looking at the work that a person performs and, analyzing that, kind of creating a job description, or better creating a job description. Many of us have a job description that probably doesn't accurately reflect all of the work that we do. So that job analysis process is really about defining the job. And this helps overall in an organization. It makes it very clear to the person that's in that role what their tasks are that they need to do, how they can meet their goals as an employee, perhaps to get merit increases and those types of things. So that job analysis process is necessary to define jobs and therefore hopefully put the employee in a better situation, or put potential employees in a better situation to fulfill that role effectively. Okay, and that's it. So let's hop back to the classroom quick. If you have any questions, like I said, we just have the discussion, the written assignment, the quiz, and typical week. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, look forward to, I've already gotten some grading done, but I think all that's left for this class is the written assignment from last week. So look forward to that coming through to you, and as always, just reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.